It's important for you to shift from the mindset of scarcity to the mindset of abundance by understanding that you are all. But you are actually more than all. So when you think about the universe and when you think about understanding the connection between yourself and the comparisons, the contrast, the similarities, the oneness of you and the universe, that is when you begin to break down and discover the answers to all the questions that you have, to all of the desires and the wisdom that you seek to understand about yourself, about the universe, about manifestation, about the art of life, which is your purpose in creating that which you desire, because you are an individual expression of the Creator. Therefore, it is your nature to create as well. Now, you must understand, okay, how do I create that which I desire? The important thing about shifting your mindset from scarcity to abundance is an imperative transformation, because if you are in the mindset of scarcity, the mindset that, well, there isn't enough to go around, I may not be good enough, that in fact, you're not smart enough, you're not intelligent enough, or you don't have the resources and you're limited to what you can do, or that's not something you've seen before. When you have all of these dialogues and discussions about scarcity as your reality, then that doesn't leave you with much to take away and move with. But the journey of spirituality is really about understanding that you are infinite. And with that infinity, you represent and you live in the mindset of abundance, that in fact, there is more than enough to go around, more than enough to create, and that in fact, your very existence here is to create, which is the evidence that there is something for you to create. You see, so when you really understand that life isn't about randomly being put here, right? But in fact, that you are put here for a reason, that you are put here with a divine purpose, then you understand that, okay, if you are here for a purpose, then whatever that desire is that you have, there is room, there is space, there is a path for you to actually walk in order for you to create this thing that you are essentially created, you are meant to win. Okay, you just have to shift the mindset of scarcity, which is a mindset that has been implanted upon you, that has been taught to you. And once you shift out of what you were taught and understand what you are, then the actual transformation into abundance really happens. So let's get into making this shift, and let's get into understanding how to see yourself in relationship to the universe, and how, in fact, abundance is not only your birthright, but the truth about your existence and of the existence of all things. So when we think about creation, when we think about things in general, right? Because we can generally understand that when it comes to who you are all things. When we have this conversation about oneness, that oneness usually relates to comparing or understanding your connection with all things, all other things, right? And the fact that you can see something, you recognize that it is your point of view that gives it meaning, gives it definition, gives it, purpose even in itself, also creates more contrast and texture to that thing. But there is more to it than that. And though you can see and recognize, okay, there is something about this concept of I am one with all things. But here is when things get tricky and very interesting. This is where true abundance is understood, is that you are all, but you are also nothing. You are everything, but you are also nothing. Okay? You are everywhere, but you are also nowhere. Now, let's get into it and let's unpack this. So when you think of a thing, let's think of when we go outside and we look around and we experience the trees, the cars, the buildings, the other people. that is usually where our understanding of oneness begins and ends. Okay. And we can understand, okay, if I look at a tree, I can have a feeling about that tree, an opinion about that tree, a reality based around that tree. The same thing with the cars, the buildings, and other individuals, right? The people. But we are not thinking about everything else outside of that. All right. Let's go deeper into it. Let's think about the universe. When we look up at the stars, when we look up at the galaxy and we see the stars, we immediately focus on the things, right? The stars, the planets, the moons. But we fail to recognize the abundance of the nothingness, right? Or that dark matter that surrounds the stars, that holds up the stars, that holds up the planets, that holds up the moon, the suns, right? We fail to recognize the abundance of everything else, the nothingness that exists around everything. So let's get more into it, okay? Think about all of the space, this quote unquote empty space that exists. Think about a thing, right? Like my hand is a thing. Think about everything or nothing that surrounds my hand. When you think about the stars and the planets, think about the space, the nothingness that surrounds that space, right? That thing, that planet, right? That item that you usually tend to focus on. So when we focus on abundance, we usually just focus on these things because that is what you want to create. You want to create a thing. But guess what? You create a thing from nothing. This is why you are a creator. This is your very nature. This is why it's so important to understand. This is how you make that shift from scarcity to abundance, because scarcity will cause you to only see the thing, right? The person, the car, the house. It will only see the limit, the potential limit of that thing. But you fail to see everything outside of that thing. So though there is a house there, you fail to recognize the land and how much more land there is to build more houses, right? When you think about space, we only look at the planets, the stars, the moons. But we fail to recognize the dark matter that clouds and covers those things. Ultimately, what I want you to understand is you have to step away from only recognizing the quote unquote tangible things and identify the intangible. You have to shift from recognizing the finite things, the things that we can measure, and understand and recognize the infinite things, the things that are not measurable. Understand that when you make this shift from focusing on what you can touch, see, right, and witness into the things that are intangible, you can't be touched, you can't see it, you just have to feel and experience it, then that's when you tap into your abundance. You are all things, but you are also nothing. And it is in, right, that nothing, that nothingness, because even nothing is a thing. This is what you need to understand. And what nothing is in fact potentiality, is in fact the soup, the texture, the essence of creation. That is space to create. So every time you walk, you are walking through nothingness, right? Space, air. Every time you walk, you are walking into the potentiality of creating something in that moment. So every time you think about something, every time you talk, you speak, you do something, you are in a space of creation, because there is nothing optimizing, or there was nothing occupying that space but you and your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings and your actions. So think about not just the items that we can feel, touch, smell, taste, but everything outside of it that is far more abundant and far more vast than the things you actually can tangibly experience. It is in the intangibles that you actually create the things that actually allow you and give you the power to actually create the things that you desire. So you have to make the shift from not only recognizing the things, because those things are important, and those things are you. They are an expression. They are a reflection of you, because how you view those things create more of your reality. But when you identify and understanding the nothingness that is surrounding those things, and you recognize that within that nothingness, that is where the potentiality lies for any thought, any desire that you have. That is where the possibilities of all your desires exist. So moving from scarcity means shifting from only identifying what is tangible and what is quote unquote real to what is intangible and is quote unquote unrealistic or not real, because it is the unrealistic energy, vibration, the essence, right? That dark matter, that empty space is where creation happens and takes place. Once you move from the dimension of only seeing the tangibles into the intangibles, then you move from the material to the essence of love and creation, okay? And then you take that existence, and then you create from it. And then you make your dreams, your desires, your passions actually materialize and manifest. So the materialization and the manifestation along your spiritual journey happens when you are in a space of nothingness, because nothingness is actually where the power lies. We spend too much time and too much energy focusing on things, when in fact, when you focus on the nothingness and the potentiality of that energy, and you create in that nothingness, you essentially add and contribute to the things of the world, society, and the galaxy. You see? So this is very important to recognize and understand. This shift happens when you shift what it is that you're focusing on and how you identify with creating the reality that you desire. It is through recognizing that, yes, you are all, but you are also nothing. And it is in the nothingness that actually will give you the power to create all the things that you desire. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get access to this free ebook. And I invite you to join my Conscious Creator Circle, where you will be given tools and insight that will support you in understanding deeper understandings as to concepts such as this, and help you to create the reality that you desire. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.